Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the FBO Green Initiative webinar for June 19th, 2014. Let you know that this webinar is being recorded. For individuals who are not using, well, if you can't hear the information on your computer speakers, you can dial in utilizing the 1-800-780-8834, utilizing the access code of 3325888, followed by the pound sign. Then we ask everybody to hit the *6 key to mute your phone. Of course, we're utilizing the Microsoft Link product. Let you know too, we have our partners and sponsors. So we have ourhealthministry.com as a partner, and then we have Clean Life Energy as another one of our partners. Little bit of a housekeeping here. We're going to have over on your left side of the screen, we actually have our chat window where you can ask questions. All questions will be answered with a follow-up email and posted on the FBO Green website and sent out. Over to the bottom right-hand corner, this is where you can actually change the views. And if you click on the little button there, you just change it to content view. Addition to that, if you look at this button right here on the far right hand corner, you can actually change your screen to full screen. Okay, let's jump into the webinar. So this webinar is going to focus on the workforce development, create good green jobs, and how it'll impact the faith-based organization, the membership, and the community. What we're going to be talking about today is we're going to rehash the, hold on, let me get this stamp here. We're going to rehash the FBO in the Energy and Environmental Plan. We're going to really talk about what exactly is green jobs. Then we're going to talk about what is a workforce program and as it relates to the FBO Green Initiative. We're also going to talk a little bit about how the workforce program can benefit the faith-based organization partners, community, and members. And then lastly, we're going to go ahead and actually go over what exactly we're trying to accomplish with the faith-based organization Green Initiative. And then we're going to have a page up that's going to show our question and answers. At that time, you can put in your questions and answers. All that time you can put your question and answers at fbogreen at ourhealthministry.com, utilizing our partners. So, if you've seen the first webinar, and that was on June 5th, you can always go back over to the YouTube channel. We really talked about this plan, this energy and environmental plan. And so we started off with talking about identifying the partners and stakeholders. And then from there, we talked about forming a leadership team. Next is making a vision statement. Next is get an energy and environmental baseline. What we're going to be talking about today is developing a specific goal and coming out with specific outcomes. This is kind of important. Now, the previous webinars, and actually the next webinar, is talk about another goal on energy efficiency and looking at our baseline. But this goal, we're looking at if a faith-based organization wanted to implement a workforce development program where we can actually have our members involved and engaged with, and also our community with jobs, and that is jobs inside the green industry. Then the other plan talked about assign task and start the program. Last week on June 12th, we talked about identifying financing because if you don't have the financing, you really are not going to be able to start the project. And we have grants available. We have you know leasing. We talked with the guys at Real. They actually presented a very good presentation on that. We have rebates. So this is extremely important for us to move forward on any kind of initiative and any kind of project we have available. Then, of course, we're going to go ahead and confirm the plan. And after we confirm the plan, we're going to implement the plan. And then, based upon our goals and our outcomes that are defined, we're going to go ahead and monitor our outcomes, and then we're going to actually follow up. And this is really how the actual plan starts off. So, let's really talk about this whole concept of our whole concept of goals, developing specific outcomes, and everything else. So, again, what we're doing is we're rehashing the first June 5th webinar that really went in detail on the actual plan itself. But we're going to really talk about how to set up goals within the plan. So the first thing we've got to do is we've got to obviously look at our goals. And from our goals, we're going to look at our vision of the goal, what the goal is trying to accomplish, our objectives. We're going to actually define those goals, develop a baseline for those goals, look at any kind of barriers that will be affected by those goals, and then we're going to go ahead and actually set up our program, program and project objective options, looking at what we're going to do as far as what's available for our goals, and then we're going to look at any kind of recommendations. So if we set a goal, we're going to make that plan. We're going to actually implement that and start getting to work. We're going to stick to it, and then we're going to reach our goal. This is basically for every goal that we set inside. As we looked at our previous or in our first webinar, we have many types of goals we can set outside. We can actually talk about within our energy and environmental plan. We can set goals such as how we're gonna reduce our energy load from our demand side. If you remember what our demand side was, that was the demand side was the energy on the consumer side of the utility meter. So, for instance, if we wanted to go ahead and reduce our electrical costs by 50%, that would be the goal for that organization. So, if we look at this goal, which we're talking about in this webinar, we talk about our workforce development. Let's say that we're going to go ahead and actually develop a workforce development program that can generate green jobs for, let's say, 100 people within 1 year, and we're looking at having possibly a medium income for those individuals, let's say between $30,000 to $35,000, or $25,000 to $35,000. And that would be a set goal. And then from there, we have to actually define each step within that goal to actually make that happen. So we would have to set up a workforce development program. We'd have to reach out to our members, have to reach out to our community. We'd have to develop, send up our flyers. We'd have to make announcements inside of our faith-based organization, our church bulletins. Um, those would be the tasks within the goals. So we have a bigger, I'm going to go back over to this. So we have a bigger plan, but then when we start developing our goals, the goals itself really have to be defined. And then they will actually have its set task within each goal. And that's where people really don't understand that it really takes a lot of planning to make something happen. So each environment, the overall energy and environmental plan gets put in place, and then we're going to have each goal within the plan, and then from each goal has to be further defined so that we can actually make each goal successful. So again, this right here, this is how we set up our goals. So if we look at, we're going to really talk about this whole idea of a workforce development utilizing green jobs. And this is where we're talking about our faith-based organization green initiative. Because we can actually have other workforce development programs, but for this initiative, we're really talking about how green jobs can be developed. And once we look through the presentation, you'll truly understand that really green jobs is really the way things are going to go, because green jobs are going to be something global. But in the same token, as for faith-based organizations, we really have to look at what is the impact for the community. In most cases, faith-based organizations should be a steward over our environment and our community. So that's really where the faith-based, where the Green Job Initiative really comes from, and in defining. So if we look at the definition from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, we have two really good definitions here on what exactly is a green job. So we look at the first one. We say jobs in businesses that produce goods or provide services that benefit the environment or conserve natural resources. So let's really talk about that whole comment right there. So the environment and conserve natural resources. So, natural resources could be the land that we produce food from, that we live in. Um, the environment is the air we breathe, the water we drink, and how those are being affected. So that's extremely important that we understand, what this actually is and what the role of a faith-based organization comes from. And it really should be in sync with most faith-based organizations, because most faith-based organizations, we believe that we are supposed to be stewards over the environment that we live in and the people that we affect. The next definition here is jobs in which workers' duties involve making their establishment production processes more environmental friendly or use fewer resources. So again, that's self-explanatory. Any place where you're actually involved or engaging the organization and having that organization develop programs that will make that organization environmental friendly and use less natural resources. So, when we talk about, environmental resources here, we also want to talk about what exactly does that mean and how does that connect. A lot of people really don't understand. We work with several different organizations, and a lot of people don't make the connection between a green job and how does it affect them. So again, this is from the June 5th, 2014 presentation, but it really talks a little bit about how the environment is connected. So this is really talking about the indoor air quality, but you can also talk about this as outdoor air quality. So I'll give an example. If you have coal burning plants that are producing electricity, that off gas is put out through the environment. So in my state of Ohio, the state of Ohio has the most coal burning plants out of any state in the United States. And the air quality can be directly affected by the coal burning plants. And if we look at what that means, or what are the different effects of coal burning, in coal burning environments, it's really huge because the air that's being inhaled, so we look at here inhaled, it causes cancer because the air is carcinogen. I mean, just imagine if you were to breathe the air coming in from a coal burning plant. It has a lot of cancer causing chemicals that will cause will actually affect your health, and it's already documented from that. Also think about the ingestion. So we have this thing about the fracking techniques and the chemicals that are utilized within the fracking water. That water gets down to the actual drinking table, the water table, the freshwater water table, which is being directly affected. And it's already happening throughout the United States, places like Texas, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, so forth and so on, that the natural gas and also the chemicals that are used for the fracking technique gets inside of the water table. Not to say that, we don't need natural gas because, of course we need to do that. But when we start talking about utilizing, renewable energy, things like solar, wind, hydro, um, we're talking about fuel cells and everything else. What's happening is that we really go to a cleaner source of energy production. On the same token, when we talk about green jobs, we can also talk about jobs that entail farming. We can look at indoor air quality audits. We're trying to have individuals audit the air that we breathe inside of the buildings. Just imagine the air that's inside of the faith-based organization from, the dust, communicable diseases, and everything else. We want to make sure that the indoor air quality is good. So again, we're talking about these green jobs. They're directly involved with helping the environment and conserving our natural resources. Things like air, water, our land, where we generate our food, everything. I don't care what it is. We still need water to drink. We still need clean air to breathe. We still need to have good food, put in our bodies. We need to make sure that we're not putting anything on our skin that's going to actually be directly absorbed by our skin. So when we talk about our faith-based organization initiative, our green initiative, most faith-based organizations understand that they are a steward within our community. So, saying that, we talked about what green jobs are. So, where exactly or what industries are, actually involved with green jobs? So, here, this right here is again coming from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and we see that primary the top area where green jobs are in an industry is construction. This right here show this chart right here shows how many establishments are set up in the United States. Now this is not jobs. This is actually locations that are affected or companies or organizations that are affected by the green initiative. So if we see here, construction, okay, is the top one. Then we have things like professional and business services, other services, natural resources and mining, information technology, computer-based equipment and everything else, manufacturing, trade, public administration, education and health services. Again, we're talking about the environment. You know, health is directly connected with our environment. If we go back to the slide, you can start seeing this direct connection between our health and also our green initiative, or as far as green jobs, or what we're breathing and everything else. And if you look at this right here, this is over 2.1 million establishments. And so now you start looking at, workforce development and what jobs are going to be available. You start to understand that there are a lot of organizations that are directly engaged with the community. Well, sorry, with in the United States, and this is just not the United States. This is actually the world. But you see how large this actually is, and we say, all right, okay, we say that um, green jobs. What exactly are green jobs? Well, this is really good right here. This is actually showing um, what certain different types of green jobs. And again, we looked at it back over to the establishments, and then we had multiple, different areas. We had areas in construction, we had areas in business and services, transportation. So we look back over to this chart right here, really start looking at certain green jobs. We got green jobs inside of recycling material collecting, solar energy, and that's what a lot of people really focus in on. We talk about solar energy, solar panels, and everything else. But we also look at things like HVAC. The air conditioning that happens in the faith-based organizations at the home and businesses. We also look at things like the cooler systems. I mean, just imagine how much electricity is being utilized inside of a business or a restaurant and those coolers. So now we start looking at, now we start understanding solar energy design. But the thing I want you to look at is that look at the medium incomes. So we set our goals for individuals coming on board, getting dream jobs, and we said that starting off, we're going to get folks jobs between, let's say, a medium income of $25,000 to $35,000 per year, we can see that that's not an unreasonable goal. Just imagine if we can get individuals with jobs inside of the community that is, that we can increase their family's income by 35, 25, $35,000. See how much of an impact that would be within the community. And we're going to talk about the actual benefits and the outcomes that we'll start to achieving when we start implementing a workforce development program. So let's talk about that and what exactly the number is. So this right here was taken again from, this is actually taken from the American Solar Society and also from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. I want everybody to see this right here. And we look at 1 out of 4 workers in the United States will be working in renewable energy and energy efficiency by 2013. I do a lot of talking and communicating with other individuals, and for some reason, there's this whole issue in the renewable energy has become political. I mean, for some groups, they think that the liberals want to, implement renewable energy, and while, the right groups want to eliminate renewable energy because they say it's not viable it's not viable and it won't be viable for another 100 years. First thing that is doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. We really need not to put it in play because renewable energy really has been around for over 100 years, and we'll be showing those those different things in our initiative. We're going to be explaining this, but solar energy obviously has been around, and the Christian faith, we talk about manna coming from the sky when Moses was inside of the wilderness. Why would we not consider solar energy or wind energy a part of the manna that we utilize for our needs? I mean, if we totally understand this, it really falls suit. Of course, we have other, religions that or faiths that understand the same thing. I mean, the Islamic faith, the Buddhist faith, all these faiths believe that we actually have uh, resources that are directly involved with our environment that we could be utilizing. It doesn't have to be just for our fossil fuels, which again, if we're reserving that for our future generation, then we understand that if we implement green technology to help reduce, the impact we have on our environment, but also let's talk about saving those resources for our future generation. And then we talk about, this is a very big number, and that is that these jobs can generate 1.9 and 4 up from 1.9 to 4.5 trillion dollars annually. So if we look at our previous webinars, we talk about our budgets and we talk about our goals, the Department of Energy stated that if the 376,000 faith-based organizations and congregations just reduce their energy uses by 10%, we're looking at over $400 million can be saved for implementing programs. So if we do that as a goal by reducing energy usage, and then we have it where we're actually getting our community and membership to increase their actual income, we can actually have programs that will help stimulate our community. So from there, we can actually get more food available for our individuals who are needed in our community. We can start impacting people's lives. That way, they can start living properly in our community, both for our members and for the community. So this is a very good number to actually look at. This is 1.9 to 4.5 trillion dollars by 2030. So when we talk about the workforce development, for what exactly is a workforce development program? So we look at workforce management and learning. It's a really simple concept. It is really saying that we are going to grow our talent inside of our community instead of buying the talent or buying the things we need. We're going to actually, do a grassroots, and we're going to actually take our community and members within there, so we were directly impacting the local community, our local environment. And what we're going to do is we're going to train up those individuals to supply those needs for our community and our faith-based organization. It's as simple as that. And so, as it relates to the FBO Green Initiative, this right here is what we're doing. So we have, with an initiative, we're going to start probably in July. We're going to have multiple webinars in July, but we're going to start the process of adding on faith-based organizations, and we're going to start doing online training in these areas right here, because these areas are some of the beginning areas they're going to need. Solar PV installer, solar thermal installer, um, what we call micro wind or light wind turbines, electrician trades, because obviously we have to actually look at generating electricity, renewable energy project management. The good thing about this right here, as far as renewable energy project management, is those skill sets can be transferred over to other areas in other industries. Then we talk about our renewable energy sales. Obviously, we've got to go and actually reach out to the community. So we're looking at training individuals to actually become salespeople that communicate. And that really takes a special person to be a salesperson. Um, then we talk about our energy and indoor air quality auditors. And the initiative is very unique. And the reason why it's unique is we're looking at doing job training. After we look at doing the job training, we're having a direct relationship with pulling people into an internship. Now, let's go and give a perfect scenario. Perfect scenario is that we have a faith-based organization that wants to implement a green energy plan. Chess becomes a partner, and we're pulling in all the partners to actually help reduce the cost for that faith-based organization. On top of that, what we're doing here is we're starting to train the members within that faith-based organization and the community surrounding that faith-based organization for the skill sets that we just laid out here. And from there, we're actually going to implement those individuals for the process. So now you get the online training, or in some cases, we have select few that are large enough, faith-based organizations are large enough, where we can do on-site training. But we're actually giving those individuals to learn hands-on and be directly engaged with that faith-based organization, so they have a form of understanding and they have a direct relationship and understanding what that faith-based organization energy and environmental plan is put in place. So now you've got members that are directly involved and engaged in that process, and they have a direct connection with the success of that faith-based organization's, energy programs and environmental programs. After that gets completed, the faith-based organization can then lean on those trained individuals to keep the outcomes. And if we look at the plan here, let's go back over to the plan. We talk about here the follow-up and monitoring the outcomes. Those individuals now can be the monitoring of the outcomes and actually report back over to the faith-based organization, make sure everything is successful. And after that, we now pull them in and actually hire them into CHESS as a strategical for-profit partner, where now we're giving those individual jobs that can reach out to the community that's directly involved and engaged with the faith-based organization. And now those individuals can actually pull money and resources back to the faith-based organization. So if we look at this right here, and this right here is a perfect example of the different benefits for the faith-based organization. As I discussed before, we have individual members can be trained to help with the faith-based organization's energy and environmental plan. And then we talk about that research for green projects with the FBO and FBO green membership. So what that means is that now when we look at other green projects, we can actually pull those resources from the FBO green and actually initiate those projects. We actually have an increase of medium income for our FBO members. So again, we looked at that chart, and this is just the medium. But if we start looking at this chart right here, we start really to see the possible incomes that are available for members within that fourth faith-based organization. Just imagine if we start having members are going to have more funds available for their families. We have, more things, more, income available to help the faith-based organization to put into programs to help the community. I mean, we have outreach programs, we have food banks and everything else. Just imagine if we can actually push money into the faith-based organizations to help with that. You know, again, we're talking about excellent helping the medium outcomes for the community. And then we look at, lastly here, we can say that now those members that are trained can help out with the surrounding community with their green initiative. So, We have, we'll look right here, this chart right here. We have the faith-based organization in the center, and where the faith-based organization becomes the steward of the community. So we have residential projects, we have commercial projects, local businesses, and we have organization projects, schools, city governments. Those individuals that are trained, as a chess, as the for-profit partner, we can actually utilize those members that are trained and help with these projects throughout that community. And what happens when we do that? Well, it's pretty simple. We have things like community involvement. You know, we have, individuals within the community. The community looks at the benefits of the faith-based organization and what they're doing in that community. And now the faith-based organization becomes that community um, figurehead, or that stabilizer in that community. We also have the community stabilization, and I know inside this really talks about certain faith-based organizations that could be or involved inside of areas, let's say an urban setting. So we have an inner city urban setting that the community is starting to become a decay. Well, I've seen it a million times where you got all these faith-based organizations surrounded by an urban decay. Well, what if that faith-based organization became a stabilizer within a community? Again, developing jobs, green jobs, green jobs that affect the environment and the natural resources of that community. And if we do this correctly, we can actually start to impact communities all across the United States. And then, of course, we're talking about membership engagement. I mean, if you have individual members that are getting jobs and everything else, this is going to be huge for that membership, because now individuals are bringing money into their family. That money, that extra income, can help out programs within that faith-based organization, because now we've got individuals with higher medium incomes, which ultimately will actually put programs outside of the community, food banks programs, clothing programs. So again, it starts to stabilize that community. And lastly, we're going to start to rehash what exactly the faith-based organization Green Initiative is. So we're trying to establish and expand the channels provided by the knowledge, products, and services to support faith organizations to implement energy efficiency, renewable energy, and environmental health projects to reduce energy consumption and provide employment opportunities and impact the environmental health of their surrounding communities. How we're going to do it? We're actually going to have the faith-based organizations to do things like energy efficiency techniques, LED lighting, LED lighting, solar panels, solar thermal, online systems to manage energy and water and equipment usage, and indoor environment quality. Phase one, and again, this is just preliminary phases, because what we're finding out is we're getting a lot of responses from organizations throughout multiple cities, but we're looking at starting off inside of Cleveland, Detroit, Atlanta, and Houston, but it seems as if that this initiative is going pretty good. So we're probably going to expand that, obviously, to other faith-based organizations across the United States. That'll be in phase 2. And then we're looking at expanding this nationwide. So we have our FPL Green Initiative webinar next week on June 26, 2014, noon. And the next one we'll be talking about energy efficiency and audits for faith-based organizations. From there, this is a great way. This is a great seminar for people to understand what exactly is an energy audit and an indoor air quality audit, and what those parameters are. We're gonna have some good speakers for that, and this pretty much concludes our webinar. Any questions that you want to be answered, you can actually email them to fblgreen@ourhealthministry.com. And again, we have our partners and sponsors, Our Health Ministry and Clean Life Energy. Thank you, and I'm glad that everybody had the time and a chance to actually watch this webinar.